See if this is working. It should be. But you always gotta check. You always gotta do the little swirl lag to start and get me scared, but do believe that it is working. All right. I believe that it is working, and I believe that we're here for another retro review number 9 to be exact, and another WrestleMania retro review. WrestleMania 41 is weeks away, but we're going back in time into 2008 to talk about WrestleMania 24. Already on the channel, we've talked about the build to this event because we have previously reviewed the Royal Rumble and No Way Out events on the road to this WrestleMania in 2008. So you want to get familiar and go back in time and watch those, you can. But I'm not going to dwell too much because I've come to learn that these WrestleMania events are extremely long and a lot happens on them. We'll have our side tangents and random talk about during the course of this, but we're here to discuss WrestleMania 24. I will say, this is the first side tangent. During this era, so I will say, post X7, post WrestleMania 17, it is very on again, off again on how these WrestleManias goes. Like WrestleMania 18 has its moments, but it's kind of looked at as a bad mania. WrestleMania 19 is looked at as a goated WrestleMania and a good WrestleMania. WrestleMania 20 is kind of a mixed bag. I'm going to lean on it being in the good side. WrestleMania 21, a goated WrestleMania, and I will discuss that WrestleMania in next year's retro review series. I should have done it this year, but I kind of wanted to review only one from the Ruthless Aggression era, and this is the one that we ended up landing on. WrestleMania 22 and 23 are a bit of mixed bags. 23 is kind of a meh WrestleMania, but the championship, the world and WWE title matches carry that show. 22 is kind of the same situation. Now we're here at 24. Now, I was doing all that to preface it, that we have a stretch of bad and questionable WrestleManias after it. 25, outside of Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, is looked at as a negative and bad, and just the word I used, questionable WrestleMania. 26 is an improvement from 25, but obviously the highlights of both events are the same two men competing in matches. 27, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Then you get to 28. That kind of is, again, ways away, but this is kind of sandwiched in between all of this. And I kind of look at it as one of the better WrestleManias, especially one of the better ones from my childhood, and why I really chose to review it. Now, I will say this. I'm going to wait till we discuss that matchup, but I do have another side tangent to discuss. Let's go ahead and get right into this freaking review. We're live from Orlando, Florida at the Citrus Bowl. It is a bit concerning that the show starts, and you can see on the camera lenses, there's water. And it looks very cloudy, so I'm going to imagine that water is from rain. And we obviously had this take place at WrestleMania 37 where it started to rain, and all the years of WrestleMania and it happening, there's definitely some concerns of it. And obviously at one point it actually did happen at 37. But there's that concern here, but it went away. We hear John Legend sing America the Beautiful, and it was a good rendition of it. WrestleMania is a big week and a big festival and celebration throughout the week. I think the most notable thing to happen that week outside of WrestleMania, and it has been discussed by numerous of people, and it gets brought up a lot because it's not really a funny situation. People look at it as a funny situation, but in all honesty, it really isn't. One of the Highlanders, aka WWE employees, attended the TNA Impact taping that week. And again, this become a bigger deal because Impact that was the first ever live version of Impact, and they did it for obvious reasons. There's a lot of people who were in town for it. But I think that was kind of the highlight of the WrestleMania week. And like I said, it's been discussed a lot of times, and I'm fairly certain that TNA uploaded that to their YouTube channel recently. So let's talk about our actual first matchup of the night. Let's actually start the matchup here. As you can see, my champions here. Got to have it somewhat accurate. The first matchup of the night. The opening match at WrestleMania, like I said, is a very important match. And this time around, we have a Belfast brawl between JBL and Finlay. Now, I did write this down. This is the culmination, and I want to say technical culmination of the Mr. McMahon Son storyline. This is its conclusion. Now, depending on who you want to believe and rumors and whatnot, this match realistically could have, if you want to look at it from that angle, this match could have been Triple H and Mr. Kennedy, because Mr. Kennedy was supposed to be Mr. McMahon's son. That got changed up because of something else, and then it ultimately got changed up into it being Hornswoggle, and then JBL inserted himself into this. I don't really know why he did. I remember during the reveal of the son, JBL was one of the final men. And, he loves his money, and that, I would imagine, was the main thing he was thinking about and wanting to be Mr. McMahon's son. But I don't really know why JBL inserted himself into this, but we have the Belfast Brawl, JBL versus Finlay, and Hornswoggle did return. He was taken out and beat up a couple weeks ago, but he did return for this big WrestleMania. So, talk about the actual match. JBL attacks from the moment the bell rings, and then once this happened, Finlay introduces the weapons, and a trash can is introduced into Finlay's face by JBL. Hornswoggle uses a kendo stick on JBL, with it being a setup for Finlay to use the shillelagh, which I've had to write this down 2 or 3 times in our previous reviews. I still do not know how to spell shillelagh. This match spills to the outside where Finlay attempts to do a dive to the outside, but JBL hits him with a trash can lid. And then I know it's the opening match. I know we're minutes into this event, but this is something, again, that gets replayed to this day. Might be the highlight from the event. JBL throws the trash can at Hornswoggle out of nowhere, and it just is a very funny moment. Finlay gets revenge for this moment happening by putting JBL through a table, but JBL hits Finlay with a kendo stick into the kneecap and then hits him with a clothesline to hell. Clothesline to hell might actually be the better name for that, but it is a clothesline from hell to win the matchup. For something, like I said, the opening match at WrestleMania is very important. It should set the tone for the event. Granted, I don't know. This is a crazy match. I don't know if the rest of the card gets that crazy, but I told you there's several memorable things from this match still to this day, so there it is. Now, we have a Money in the Bank ladder match taking place. This is the 4th one at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 21, Edge won. WrestleMania 22, RVD won. And at WrestleMania 23, the previous year, Mr. Kennedy won. Now, it is very funny that there is a moment during commentary where JR is talking about how the previous winners have been successful with using the Money in the Bank briefcase and how far their careers have gone. And he only said Edge at RVD because, again, Mr. Kennedy never got to cash it in. He lost it to Edge in a situation that probably should have been changed up. The way that it's been talked about is he got injured and they needed to get the briefcase off of him, but his injury was not as serious, but they still need to get it off of him. So I don't know how that could have changed. Regardless, I had to note that. Another thing I need to note, that Jeff Hardy was supposed to be in this matchup, but was suspended. And again, in another situation where you might believe it and might not believe it, he could have won this matchup. But you obviously can't win a match that you're not involved in. But the Hardy is involved. We'll talk about that moments later. Before the match, Kim Kardashian, who is our WrestleMania hostess, who outside of this one segment appears one more time during the night, or at least, I knew I was forgetting something. I'm watching the DVD version of this. Anytime I have a DVD of these events, I'm gonna try to use it. Because I feel that the ones that are out there on Peacock or other streaming services, all the versions are different. Something's always edited or changed up, but I wanted to specify I'm using the DVD version, and I'm only really specifying it here because if she was involved in anything else, which if I could travel back to 2008 and remember my 2008 brain, I don't remember her being. Long story short, she has this segment and one other one tonight. But she interviews Mr. Kennedy, in which he says that he will be going back to back. And I did write this down before, again, she appears later on in the night. I said they could have found a better role for her. I don't really care. But who the hell is in this Money in the Bank ladder match? Mr. Kennedy, John Morrison, Carlito, Shelton Benjamin, CM Punk, MVP, and the man that invented the Money in the Bank ladder match, and the current Intercontinental Champion at that time, Chris Jericho. The U.S. Champion was in this match, an MVP. Also, again, there's such a long stretch of the Intercontinental title not being defended at WrestleMania. It was not defended at 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and then it makes its big return at WrestleMania 25 for all of seconds. For seconds. But what the hell happens in this match? Immediately the ladders are introduced. Morrison lands a moonsault to the outside while holding on to a ladder, and then Shelton powerbombs Kennedy while he is holding on to Morrison for a suplex Tower of Doom spot. Punk hits a GTS onto Shelton, with Kennedy landing a Kenton bomb onto him afterwards. Kennedy and Carlito push Shelton off of a ladder onto another ladder on the outside, probably the most gruesome bump from this matchup. Then Jericho applies the walls of Jericho onto Morrison while on a ladder. This is I'm not going to say I call this the shut your mouth spot, but I always remember that you could do this on SmackDown, shut your mouth. And then Kennedy tries to reach over both men to grab the briefcase once again. Then Carlito delivers a backstabber to him moments later. This leaves MVP by himself until the returning Matt Hardy appears to deliver a twist of fate, which at this time MVP and Matt Hardy were rivals, and Matt Hardy got hurt in 2007, so this is his big return. I told you Hardy would appear, and it was Matt. Also, if he would have grabbed the briefcase, I would have been intrigued to see how they went for that. But he obviously didn't, so we don't have to worry about that. Several moments later, the competitors are knocking one another off of a ladder, leaving Punk to use the briefcase on top of Jericho's head to retrieve it and become the new Mr. Money in the Bank. And Mr. Kennedy said he would go back to back. Guess what? CM Punk does the same because he wins this year and wins next year. But it's very similar. This is going to be an obscure reference, but it immediately came to my mind. Joe Burrow won Comeback Player of the Year this year, and he has won that award before. And his speech, he was like, this is not really a award you want to win again. So in essence, you don't really want to win the Money in the Bank multiple times because that means you lost. You either lost your title match or you've lost the title. You want to be the champion. You don't want to be Mr. Money in the Bank. And also, you only got you got a year warranty on it. Regardless, this Money in the Bank match had a lot of notable moments. It's another matchup where it's very memorable all these years later. So there's that. And CM Punk went on to have a successful his first world title run in WWE's probably his least memorable one. Because the one after, he has the awesome feud with Jeff Hardy. And then years later, when he wins the WWE title, it's the Summer of Punk, and he has the 434-day reign. So this first title reign, probably the worst out of his WWE reigns. You want to talk about AEW title reigns? That's a story for a different day. Now, we have the battle for brand supremacy. We have SmackDown versus Raw. Representing SmackDown is Batista, and representing Raw, as the Raw general manager introduces him, Yamanga. Now, it was at this moment that I realized, A, they really said, screw you, ECW. We don't really care if you can be in this match. Even though I hate saying this because I don't know of an ECW representative that could have fit this matchup because Marcus Gargano's no longer there in the company. This is also when I realized that if you look at all the matches on this card, the main event is the only one that is SmackDown exclusive. Because Shawn and Ric Flair, Rick was on SmackDown at the time, but for this matchup, he was mainly on Raw. And so he was a SmackDown competitor. And even still, like I said, they're building the match on Raw, so that's a Raw match. The WWE title match is a Raw match. Floyd and Big Show is a Raw match. All the other matchups are co-branded. Now, granted, ECW only gets one match. They technically get two. I know. I was going to lie. But ECW gets one match, which we'll get to after this one. But SmackDown versus Raw, the battle for brand supremacy, Batista versus Umaga. Punches exchanged between the two to start the match. This changes when Umaga lands a big boot off of the apron. And then back in the ring, Umaga misses on a second rope headbutt attempt. Then he continues to keep Batista grounded from this point, but until he misses the Samoan spike, and Batista reverses it with a spine buster and Batista bomb for SmackDown to prevail, and he wins this matchup. What the hell is happening here? Oh, it's because it was sitting too long. All right, sorry. Batista won. I'm not going to say whoop-de-doo, but it's just... Batista and Umaga, granted, look at what the hell he did at the previous year's Mania, but they're too big of names to leave off of the card, but you couldn't really fit them in anywhere else, so... It's also technically back-to-back years. Umaga's in a brand supremacy match, but it is what it is. Now, talk about that ECW title match. I thought this was way later in the show. And if that was the case, that might have benefited them. But for the ECW World title, the only time it was defended at WrestleMania, we have Chavo Guerrero defending against Kane. Now, on the pre-show, which I will admit was on the third disc as a DVD exclusive. I believe it was a WWE.com exclusive at the time, which I will imagine. Now, I can't travel back to 2008. I don't think you could live stream it for WWE.com. If you could, probably terrible quality. So you either had to wait until after the event, and you probably already knew who the hell won and who the hell the damn champion was after the event. But the pre-show Battle Royale that had 24 men listed, and spoiler alert, the amount of time it probably would take me to write all those names down, the match would be over, done with, we'd be already on to the next thing, so I did not do that. But Kane won. That is the main point here. Kane won this pre-show Battle Royale to earn this ECW title shot, and for the only time in WrestleMania history, the ECW title is on the line for a matter of seconds because Kane appears behind Chavo Guerrero, even though he has enough time to turn around and realize, oh, Kane's here. He could have done something. I don't think, if I was in that situation, I wouldn't have been that flabbergasted. But Chavo was. But Kane chokeslams Chavo and wins the ECW title. I spent more time talking about it and building this out matchup than what actually happened. So, there's that. I think it's a bit of a shame. I would say it's a bit of a shame. But we have something way bigger, badder, and better coming up next. And I think this is the main takeaway from this WrestleMania. The main highlight of this WrestleMania. And it more than likely will be in the thumbnail of this video. But it is a career-threatening match. Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels. Thing one, I completely glossed over it on the previous page. The previous night at the WWE Hall of Fame, that please pin John Cena and win this match, because that would be a hilarious finish. The 2008 Hall of Fame inductees included the Briscoes, Mae Young, The Rock returning to induct his father, and another highlight from this week is when he joked on the Marine and John Cena was there and made a meme face. And someone that's competing in this matchup up next, Ric Flair. We saw it the Royal Rumble 2008. We saw it No Way Out 2008. But the next time that Ric Flair lost a match, it would be his last one in WWE, and he would have to retire. And he's going up against Mr. WrestleMania in this next matchup. Now, I already told you thing one, Ric Flair was inducted to the Hall of Fame the previous night. Thing two, And this really bothers the hell out of me. Why the hell were they not on the poster for this event? If you see the thumbnail, it should be a grandiose entrance for Ric Flair, a highlight and moment of this event, like I said, on half of it. The other half should be the poster for the event that has Floyd Mayweather and Big Show and the WWE and World title matches. Like I said, this matchup I feel is the main highlight of this WrestleMania. Why could they not fit them on this poster? Why are they not on this poster? That really bothered the hell out of me. But enough of that. This is the other thing. This is me kind of being an asshole. In hindsight, and looking at everything going into the build of this match, it's just kind of predictable. And I will say, if there's the outcome that was opposite of what happened, I'd be interested to see how that went. But I was about to say that's not the case, but in reality, it kind of was. But we'll get to that in a matter of moments. Let's talk about Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 24. Several woos from Flair early, but the mood changes when both exchange stiff smacks to the face. This is followed by a series of chops between both men as well. Flair attempts a figure four early, but it is thwarted. Shawn attempts a moonsault to the outside, but Flair moves out of the way and he bounces off of the announce table. Back of the ring, more chops are exchanged, and then back to the outside where Michaels is able to land the moonsault onto Flair. Back of the ring, Shawn lands a top rope elbow drop, but his sweet chin music is reversed into a figure four. Another figure four is applied with Michaels grabbing the rope afterwards. Flair taunts his way and then gets caught with a super kick, but he kicks out of the pinfall. Michaels applies his own figure four, but once back up, another super kick is landed, and then one more is needed. One more sweet chin music is needed before the band wasn't pumped up. There's nothing to be happy about because he has to tell Flair that he's sorry and that he loves him, and that he hits him with it and ends the match up and ends the in-ring career of Ric Flair. Like I said, I'm trying to think of how many retirement matches have. This is a terrible time. This is terrible to do it off the top. The only one that comes to mind is Kurt Angle. I can guarantee this is not the only retirement match at WrestleMania, but again, just someone that had such a historic career. It was highlighted by being in the Hall of Fame the previous night in the promo package. It was a great promo package as well. It was nice to celebrate Ric Flair's career on this event, even though he is a very controversial wrestler. You say that about a lot of damn people. That's how I'll preface it by saying that. But he makes it even more controversial by competing the next year against Hulk Hogan in international shows, and then goes to and I'm going to put it in quotations, competition, TNA, and is competing for them in 2010 and 2011. So I'm not going to say the matchup means nothing, because there's still that feeling and cool, but it is his last WWE match. He takes some bumps. He gets beat up occasionally here and there, but this is the last time he was in a WWE ring. So there is that. And like I said, it's probably my biggest takeaway from this event. The next matchup is the Playboy Bunny Mania Lumberjack match between Maria and Ashley versus Melina and Beth Phoenix. The master of ceremonies for this event, future WWE Hall of Famer Snoop Dogg. Now, I know Snoop Dogg's made several cameos in WWE history. He's made several cameos in practically anything and everything. But I feel like this is his main appearance before that Hall of Fame induction. And if that's the case, I don't think it was warranted. We still need Limp Bizkit in the damn WWE Hall of Fame. Do it. Hey, if I upload this and then Limp Bizkit ends up with the Hall of Fame this year, I would lose my mind. Put him in the Hall of Fame. Regardless. This is kind of a case. He does not really do anything. These celebrities that are used. Raven Simone appears at one point to promote something that I've already forgot about, but she was here. She was excited to be here at least. So there is that. Let's get to this women's tag team match. before we were even to do that, I knew I was forgetting something. Snoop Dogg did appear earlier in the show as Santina Marella, who's also involved in this matchup, is trying to talk to Snoopy the dog and has ran off with the help of Festus and Mick Foley in one of his last WWE. I can't say that. But the main takeaway of that is by the end of this 2008, Mick Foley's in TNA. So that's what I kept thinking about when I saw him in that segment. But the matchup, I'm sorry that I keep delaying it. Ashley and Beth start the match off with frequent tags and the Lumberjacks getting involved. The lights go out at one point, but does not stop the action, and I would imagine that was unintentional. Santina breaks up Maria's pinfall with Jerry Lawler getting pissed off about it, standing up and punching him. And then at this point, Beth Phoenix lands a muscle buster. She didn't do it from the top rope, but it was a muscle buster to me. And wins the matchup. Santino celebrates his ex-girlfriend's loss, but the celebration does not go on long because Snoop Dogg clotheslines him and then kisses his ex-girlfriend in front of him. I'll give Snoop Dogg credit. He knows how to wrestle. He had that splash in AEW that one time. He had that elbow drop on The Miz. He is undefeated at WrestleMania. So, but all that, again, that I just said is after his freaking Hall of Fame induction. So I'm worrying a little bit too much about that. It was good to get the women involved on the show, but it probably could have been in a better role, but this is 2008. It's the only thing I'll respond to that with. As now the matchup that y'all have been seeing for the duration of this review actually takes place in 2008 and at this WrestleMania. For the WWE Championship, Randy Orton versus Triple H and John Cena. Triple H didn't get to compete at WrestleMania 23 because of an injury that he suffered at New Year's Revolution 2007. And depending on how you want to believe, he should have been facing John Cena at that event for the WWE title, even though personally I would not have enjoyed that match because it happened at the previous year's Mania. I don't think they really could have done anything to change that up, but that just depends on who you want to believe. Now, speaking of John Cena and WrestleMania, there's thought that he wouldn't be able to compete at this year's event because of an injury that he suffered at the hands of Randy Orton, but he rehabbed and recovered enough to win the 2008 Royal Rumble, which earned him a title shot at WrestleMania. Even though he got the shot at No Way Out 08, a screwy finish grants him another title opportunity. Triple H won the Elimination Chamber again at No Way Out 08. That grants him this title opportunity. If the world that we live in WrestleManias, we've been getting a little bit too much, and this year is no different. A triple threat match. I like triple threat. I always preface it by saying I like triple threat matches. Most triple threat matches are good, but sometimes the way that we build them up, the scenarios in which we get to them, are tiresome and or questionable. And I didn't really look into it, but I just imagine that they probably planned on doing Orton versus Triple H here. Because Triple H missed last year's WrestleMania, and at last year's WrestleMania, in quote, he should have faced challenge for the WWE title. And they didn't expect Cena to be back. But the moment they realized Cena's back, well, he never lost the WWE title. He should be involved in it. So I think that's the way. And both of them were connected together because the last thing that they were doing were involving Randy Orton. So all the dots are very connected. But what the hell happens in the actual matchup? I will also note that the build to this matchup, each opponent did pick your poison matches, and this stipulation and build to this event matchup gives us the infamous meme of Randy Orton and John Cena versus the Raw roster, which is related to several sports memes and other. It's mainly a sports meme, but this matchup was responsible for that to take place. Orton attacks Triple H with the belt to start the match, and then Triple H retaliates by tackling him to the outside. We get Orton stomps to both men. Then a doomsday device to Cena. Cena catching Orton crossbody. All right, let me preface it because I'm trying to. Triple H has Cena on his shoulders, Doomsday Device style, and Orton attempts a crossbody, but Cena catches Orton out of it. Orton hits a double DDT, but only gets 2 counts on both men, and then Cena chases Orton around the ring, but then gets pushed into the ring post. Back of the ring, Triple H catches an RKO, and this is followed by Cena applying an STF. Upon a second attempt, Triple H breaks out of it and applies a crossface. Cena breaks out of it for a 5-knuckle shuffle, and then back and forth with finisher attempts from both men, with the pedigree finally being landed. But the pin is broke up with Orton landing his vintage punt and is able to pick up the pinfall victory on John Cena and retain his WWE Championship. Now, I do think it's important to note that The Undertaker obviously has a WrestleMania winning streak, but John Cena did too. He won at WrestleMania 20, 21, 22, and 23. So that streak is done here. I felt they could have put that over and made that a bigger deal, but they probably didn't because they didn't want to take away from The Undertaker's. At the time, and even now, I'm still a little shocked that John Cena didn't win this matchup, but seeing how the company would go afterwards, a.k.a. Triple H taking the title to SmackDown, I could see why Orton won it, because next month at Backlash, they run this matchup back, but add JBL into it, and Triple H wins, and then is drafted to SmackDown. I don't think they probably wanted to put Cena on SmackDown, change the titles up. They might not even known that at this time. I feel that they probably did. But I'm still a bit surprised that Orton won this matchup to this day. And it was a loaded and big-time matchup, so there is that. Speaking of big time, not WrestleMania 22, but we have the Big Show facing Floyd Money Mayweather. I'm trying to remember the exact, because I wrote down Brand Supremacy SmackDown vs. Raw. I think they called this match the biggest versus the best. They definitely called it Floyd the best. I think they called Big Show the biggest, because he is the Big Show. How long have we been going for? 30 minutes already. Dang. Floyd was 39-0 going into this bout. And to this day, spoiler, he's undefeated. I feel like if you don't know that Floyd Mayweather's undefeated, you probably don't even know who the hell Floyd Mayweather is. But I don't even know if this bout would go onto his official record or not. If I need to do it, I will put it on it. Floyd uses his speed early to avoid the Big Show, and then when he is near, he lands quick punches. Big Show takes out one of his corner men after he tries to assist Floyd and give him a bit. He has this big cup. I don't know what liquid's in it. I would hope that it is water. Might have been something else, but Big Show knocks the assistant down, and the liquid goes everywhere, so it's useless at that point. Big Show gets his hands on Floyd at this point and lands a big chop and stomps on him several times. Floyd's corner tries to take Floyd out of the contest and run to the backstage area with his undefeated streak end that way. Not really, because there's no rules. They should have actually just thrown the damn towel in, the more I think of it, because that would have solidified the end. Where with that, they could have been brawling all over the place. But Big Show did not let that happen as he chases Floyd's corner down and Floyd himself and drags them all over the stage area. Back of the ring, one of Floyd's cornermen again tries to introduce a steel chair, but Big Show takes him out with a choke slam. And then Floyd is able to get his hands on that steel chair, where he uses it on Big Show several times, even across the top of the head, and breaks off his cornerman's chain that has a pair of brass knuckles onto it, and delivers a big right hand to the Big Show. And Big Show cannot get up at the count of 10, and Floyd wins. A lot of people praise Floyd's performance here, which is fair, because I feel that a great majority of Floyd's performances are always praised because he's never lost. I think that a lot of celebrity wrestlers have done a lot better than Floyd. Granted, he's also an actual athlete compared to some of the other celebrities where they're not. So I'm going to go a bit GSP here and say I'm not impressed by your performance, but it's another one of those memorable things. Like, people remember this matchup. They remember the build to it. They remember the moments from it. I ain't going to take nothing away from it. As we have one more matchup left But before we get to it, we got to talk about Kim Kardashian one more time because she is our hostess of WrestleMania who, again, only appeared in front of the crowd once, appeared twice on the show in total. Y'all could have got me to do that. Probably not. I also know why the hell they used her in 2008, but I ain't getting into it. 74,635 people were here in attendance for this show, and she says that's really big. Her words, not mine. You know what's really big? The main event of this matchup. 2 undefeated streaks are on the line here. The World Heavyweight Championship. Edge is defending against The Undertaker. I got to see this match one more time. But don't worry, it'll be the last time. Edge cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase in 2007 on The Undertaker, who was injured and needed to take time off. During that time of Undertaker's injury, Edge would be injured and have to vacate the title. Great Khali would become world champion, lose it to Batista. And Undertaker, at the previous year's Mania, defeated Batista for that world championship. And he thought, I've did it once, I'll do it again. But Edge costed him the championship one more time and was able to reclaim the gold. So, Edge cost The Undertaker several times the World Heavyweight Championship. But now he's got nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, because he's got to face him one-on-one. Now, moments ago, I said that 2 undefeated streaks are on the line here because The Undertaker, obviously, was undefeated at WrestleMania for a long time. And Edge technically was, because at WrestleMania 23, I think technicality-wise, he did not win the Money in the Bank ladder match, even though he would end up with the damn briefcase. If you were not watching at the time and the way that I'm explaining this stuff, you probably are freaking confused. But Edge did not win the Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania 23, but during that matchup, Jeff Hardy would leg drop him off the top of a ladder, and he would be taken out of the match. So technically medically disqualified, and so it's a D-not, or you can't really record it. You can't really say it's a loss because he did not get to finish the matchup. So, and I'm trying, WrestleMania 2000 would have been his first match, the Triangle Ladder match. He won that. WrestleMania X7 TLC match, he won that along with Christian, both those matches. WrestleMania 18, he defeated Booker T. They fought over shampoo. I'm saying that in quotations. Sadly, WrestleMania 19 and 20, he did not get to compete. While WrestleMania 21, he won the inaugural Money in the Bank ladder match. WrestleMania 22, he had in the match of the night against Mick Foley. And then at WrestleMania 23, like I said, he did not get to finish the matchup. So, if y'all wanted me to go down Undertaker's WrestleMania undefeated streak, I could, but it's not as impressive. I'll say it's not, at that point at least, it's not as impressive as Edge's. Granted, from this point onward, it kind of would be. But let's talk about the actual matchup for the World Heavyweight Championship on the main event of WrestleMania 24, Edge versus The Undertaker. Back and forth start changes up after Edge reverses an old school attempt. After this, Edge attempts to keep him grounded. When he tries to go to the top rope, Undertaker pushes him to the outside, and this is followed by an Undertaker dive to the outside. Now, at this point, I should have researched it furthermore, but obviously, WrestleMania 25 is the infamous Undertaker dive. I don't know if he did that dive anymore after WrestleMania 25. He might have did it at 26, 27. He definitely did not do it at 28 because that was a Hell in a Cell match. But I'll have to look into that more. So this might have been one of the rare occasions that we got the big Undertaker dive to the outside. Still on the outside, Edge slams Undertaker onto the barrier, and he falls into the crowd, and it was a brutal landing at that point. Back and forth once they go back in the ring with Edge kicking out of a choke slam, and then later reversing the last ride into a neck breaker. Later, the last ride is landed, and this is followed by a kick out. The referee gets knocked down by Edge, and then Edge grabs the camera at ringside, which commentary, aka Michael Cole, noted that this is it's not really a reference, but it's a symbolism technically a reference as well, to that Survivor Series where Undertaker was fighting Batista for the World Championship and Edge cost him by disguising as a cameraman and using a cameraman to attack him. So there is a reason why he went for the camera. I know it's an obscure weapon to use, but it's at least referencing something. And he uses his camera on The Undertaker. Then he tries to wake the referee up, but The Undertaker wakes up instead and lands a tombstone piledriver. And then we get another meme moment from this event when referee Charles Robinson runs down the ring to the ring, and he had a long-ass run to do it, so that's why it's very meme-worthy. But he gets to the ring and is only able to count a 2 count. Then Hawkins and Ryder, the Edge heads, run down the ring, but The Undertaker sees it happening and choke slams, I believe, Hawkins onto Ryder. Also, they're not in the same attire as Edge. So, if they're trying to do the twin magic spot, technically triplet magic, that wouldn't really work, but I guess they were kind of over that stage. This gives Edge enough time for a spear, but that gets a close 2 counts. He needs to do another spear, and he's able to land another spear, but it cannot get the pin quick enough as The Undertaker applies the triangle choke, later named the Hell's Gates, that he's been using for years and years, for the Edge to tap out afterwards and to continue his undefeated streak, to win back his World Heavyweight Championship he won at the previous year's Mania, and to end WrestleMania 24. This was a good show overall. Nothing. Don't have anything really to complain about here. If I did, it would just be kind of useless and not really as needed. But it's just a fun time period, fun WrestleMania from my childhood. Now, I'm just going to start spewing random things here. So from a review standpoint, it's done, but I have several things to talk about. So if you're interested in me talking for even longer, check it out. Y'all just see what the hell happened. That was funny. The main thing that I will say, and this is important for all of y'all, next week's retro review, I'm really looking forward to. We're still continuing the trend of WrestleManias. We're still doing a WrestleMania review next week, and we will be discussing WrestleMania 38 Night 1. I know that in reality it's not really, and I'm putting this in quotations, retro, because it was in 2022, and that's not really that long ago. But when WrestleMania 38 happened, I wasn't making YouTube videos then, so I'm trying to backtrack. That's why anytime I'm doing a 2022 review, and especially if I'm doing one this year, that I'm going to keep referencing that. I'm trying to backtrack and talk about stuff before I was making videos. And Night 1 is a great show, IMO. It's a very important show, and there's a lot of cool things that happen. Now, what's even funnier about it is when I originally planned to do it, I did not plan on reviewing Night 2, but it came to my opinion that I would have felt awkward if I didn't review Night 2, and so I more than likely will be. So our next 2 retro WrestleMania reviews is going to be WrestleMania 38, Night 1, and Night 2 split into 2 videos. Next week, Night 1, the week after, Night 2. Now, I'm probably going to say this for the next month because it is something that slightly bothers me, and until it happens, I'm probably not going to get over it, but it's not really that big of a deal. But Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor this year is not happening WrestleMania weekend, but the event is still happening May 2nd to be exact. So why is this an issue for me? A, it's kind of been traditional. I know it hasn't been every year, but most years Supercard of Honor has been WrestleMania weekend. And so I had already planned retro review-wise the week of WrestleMania to retro review a Supercard of Honor event. So now that it's not WrestleMania week this year, that it's happening, I would have felt extremely awkward to keep that going. So I've had to change the retro review schedule up a little bit. And spoiler alert, I'm going to be covering Supercard of Honor 2022 the week of Supercard of Honor 2025. So the retro review schedule has been changed up a little bit, but Next week should be WrestleMania 38, point blank. I'm going to hope that Triple H wins this, that way that each of them won the matchup once. So, the reason I'm keep spewing and talking about random stuff here is we're going to try to see who wins this match. It's not needed. Also, check my phone. I don't know why WWE Shop keeps sending me emails about a shirt that I viewed legitimately a month ago. Are y'all that desperate for money? Probably. Is there anything else I need to talk about? Or am I just spewing at this point? Kind of. So, if y'all want to know who the hell wins this matchup this time around, I'll comment it and I'll respond to it. But other than that, I'm going to be out for now. Y'all know what's happening. Bro, Cena has been working this match. Cena's been funny as hell this match. Alright. I'm out for now. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And I'll see y'all when I see y'all. Because I'm out for now. This is like the second time he's did that spot too, bro. I'm out for now. Bye-bye.